Okay, so I'm in my pajamas, but my makeup is done. I want to talk about feminism. I want to talk about how I personally interpret the term and how I personally feel, because I can only speak for myself. If it adds any weight to my opinion, which I don't personally think that it does, I am a woman, and let's talk about it. I don't have a prescription, but I like the look. So the definition of feminism is belief in or advocacy of women's social, political, and economic rights, especially with regard to equality of the sexes. I'm so late to the party because feminism has gone so far out of what I can even comprehend anymore. The definition of woman isn't even something that people can easily describe. Being a woman is a very special thing. There are pros and cons to it, just like being a man. I personally have always had pretty negative experiences interacting with people who identify as feminists. The reason that I'm having trouble understanding like what is going on right now with this feminist movement is because, first of all, I think that it is just changing so rapidly.
And that person will be the first Black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
I remember when I went to the mall with my dad and he pulled the door open for me and there was a lady like pretty close behind me, so he held the door open and she yelled at him and said,
"What makes you think that I can't open the door, that she can't open the door herself? I'm a woman, I can open my own door."
I was like, "What is that?" And my dad was like, "I think she's a feminist." I don't know if that's part of the definition of a feminist, but to me she just seemed like rude. I know that she doesn't speak for all of the people, right? I know that there will be people who agree with that sentiment. I know that there will be people who disagree. But the thing that I'm having trouble understanding is how some people are saying it's not nice or it's degrading or something to do something for someone that they can do for themselves. It wasn't trying to place her below. Have you ever been to a buffet or something and you're with your loved one and if you're first in line you grab the plate? Like if you grab 2 plates and hand them one or you hand them a plate first, it's not because I think that they're incapable of getting a plate. It's just a nicety. So that was something that I personally never understood and didn't really agree with because it's not a jab on somebody if I do something nice for someone. But also, this is when I was really young. I was a huge fan of the Spice Girls who were proclaiming girl power and all that. That was something that I could get behind. It just was communicating that we do have power and are empowered. I love empowering statements. It's something I do all the time on this channel. So that was something I really liked. Girl power, baby. Again, all of this is just my personal opinion. I haven't even read any studies on anything like that. This is just how I've always felt. You know, this is just my gut feeling. I love celebrating differences, not just in groups like men and women, which I think is interesting to do, but I also enjoy just like diversity in each person. And I don't think it's necessarily like diversity means you have to have one man, one woman, one this race. I think that everybody, even within the same gender, ethnicity, and age, if you get them all together, I still understand that to be a diverse group because everyone has a different story, everybody has different mindsets, different personalities. If I care about someone, I really enjoy like learning all about them. I like feminine traits. I enjoy the feminine traits that I have. I enjoy the masculine traits that I have. But when it comes to being a woman, I quite enjoy it. And I know that my journey is going to be so different than not only a man, but every other woman, you know? I like the word feminine. Fun fact, I have it tattooed on me. I enjoy being a woman. I enjoy my feminine qualities. Like I said, I also have masculine qualities as well, but I do enjoy like being feminine. Like physically, I like what it means to be a woman. I enjoy having woman body parts. I enjoy having feminine qualities. I like doing feminine activities.
I understand why the name of this award has changed, but I really love being a woman and being a female artist. I do. I'm really proud of us. I really, really am. Thank you so much.
I don't understand what's wrong with proclaiming like your love for being a woman. I've had these opinions for a long time and it's just always been like a personal opinion. I found a professor online, Jordan Peterson, and I just like really enjoy what he has to say. He's a personality psychologist. If anybody knows me, I love studying personalities. I just think it's so interesting. And he talks about the like personality traits in people.
Differences at the extreme are where the differences really start to manifest themselves. And so you can have a small difference at the level of the average, but out at the extremes, it starts to make a massive difference. Men are more interested in things, generally speaking, and women are more interested in people, generally speaking. Now, there's still a lot of overlap between them, but that's one of the biggest differences between men and women. Almost all the people who are hyper-focused on things, they're almost all men. And all the people who are hyper-focused on people are almost all women. And so how does that play out in the world? Well, in the Scandinavian countries, it plays out this way. About 85% of nurses in Scandinavia are female. And about 85 to 90% of engineers are male. It doesn't mean women can't be engineers. It doesn't mean men can't be nurses. It also doesn't have anything to do with intelligence, but it does have to do with interest. And the differences in interest are big.
You've never said one is superior, one is inferior. What you are is a guy who's pointing out the reality of the difference between the various types of human beings.
There was a good study done a while ago, and unfortunately I don't remember the author, but they were looking at junior high math prodigies. And they're pretty equally distributed between boys and girls. But by the time university came along, the math prodigy boys, they'd tend to go into the STEM fields, but the girls wouldn't. And it isn't because they lacked ability, because they had stellar ability. It's because they weren't interested. And it turns out, like the interest thing turns out to be a big one. So with personality alone, if you measure men and women's personalities, and then you add up all the differences in personalities, you could tell with about 75 to 80% certainty by looking at a full personality readout whether a person's male or female. So you'd be wrong 25% of the time, something like that. But if you add interest to that, you can get it up to about 90%.
When I first heard that term apples and oranges, I took a liking to that a lot. I really appreciate that because they're fruit. So in that way, they're equal, right? Let's say like women are apples, right? Apples are crisp and they have that stem that you can spin to remove, and they have thin kind of skin, whether it's red or green, and you can appreciate an apple for what it is. A man can be like an orange, and an orange has that rind that you can either zest or you can just peel off. They're already like sorted into little slices for you. It's citrus. Orange juice is completely different than apple juice. I just like that because it's not saying that one is better than the other. You're just explaining the characteristics of it, and then they have similarities too. They're both fruit. They grow on trees. You know, they have stuff like that. And ever since I was young, I've always thought of men and women in that way. In today's climate, I feel like the big feminism push kind of weirds me out. There's this big push for like equality, which I don't disagree with. I think that we should be equal, but it's almost like women are like, how come men have that rind? How come men are citrus and have those cute little cells in their fruit? Like, what about me? Like, I have that too, but like, you don't. Why would you even want that? Like, I look at a man and I can appreciate a man for what he is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that I read men have more strength, like when it comes to lifting and stuff like that, but women have a higher pain threshold. I just like to celebrate that. I've always been a fan of celebrating who people are, and I just think it's, in my opinion, a little bit foolish in trying to be exactly the same. Equal in regards to rights and all that, of course, but to say that we're equal and like interchangeable, that's something that I disagree with. And you're entitled to your opinion as well. So when I found Jordan Peterson, that's about as advanced as my personal thoughts had gone with it, is like comparing men and women to fruit. He's very articulate and has a lot of research to back up what he says. It's not like groundbreaking and like, oh my goodness, men and women are different. I just found him this year, but he's been around. And in 2018, he was on this show with this lady, Kathy Newman. I don't know if you've heard of her, but the conversation was just ridiculous.
The claim that the wage gap between men and women is only due to sex is wrong, and it is wrong. There's no doubt about that. The multivariate analysis have been done. There's a personality trait known as agreeableness. Agreeable people are compassionate and polite. And agreeable people get paid less than less agreeable people for the same job.
So you were saying that by and large, women are too agreeable to get the pay rises they deserve?
No, I'm saying that that's one component of a multivariate equation that predicts salary. You need about another 18 factors, one of which is gender. And there is prejudice, there's no doubt about that, but it accounts for a much smaller proportion of the variance in the pay gap than the radical feminists claim.
Okay, so rather than denying the pay gap exists, which is what you did at the beginning of this conversation, shouldn't you say to women, rather than being agreeable and not asking for a pay rise, go and ask for a pay rise? Make yourself disagreeable with your boss.
Oh, definitely, there's that. But I also didn't deny it existed. I denied it existed because of gender.
Okay.
See, because I'm very, very, very careful with my words.
I mean, the pay gap between men and women exists, but you're saying it's not because of gender, it's because women are too agreeable to ask for pay rises. So
it's one of the reasons.
Okay, one of the reasons. So why not get them to ask for a pay rise?
I've done
that
that,
many,
many times in my career.
And they just
I've counseled. Oh, they do it all the time. So one of the things that you do as a clinical psychologist is assertiveness training. So you might say, often you treat people for anxiety, you treat them for depression, and maybe the next most common category after that would be assertiveness training. And so I've had many women, extraordinarily competent women in my clinical and consulting practice, and we put together strategies for their career development that involve continual pushing, competing for higher wages, and often tripled their wages within a 5-year period.
Do you agree that you would be happy if that pay gap was eliminated completely?
It would depend on how it was eradicated and how the disappearance of it was measured.
And you're saying if it's at the cost of men, that's a problem?
It could even be at the cost of women's own interests. So,
because they might not be happy if they get equal pay.
No, because it might interfere with other things that are causing the pay gap that women are choosing to do.
Like having children.
Well, or choosing careers that actually happen to be paid less, which women do a lot of.
But why shouldn't women have the right to choose not to have children, or the right to choose those demanding careers?
They do. They can. Yeah, that's fine.
But you're saying that makes them unhappy, by and large.
I'm saying that no, I'm not saying that. And I actually haven't said that.
The mainstream media is trying to paint him as some kind of misogynist and white supremacist and all that, and it's just not even the case. I don't know why he's painted as such a villain. I actually think that it's worth your time to listen to him. I kind of want to do a book club and like maybe even read his book on here. I don't know. I feel validated in my opinions because an accomplished psychologist is saying what I assumed to be true in my childhood. So that's just kind of fun and reassuring. I'm just saying that we should celebrate our differences and we should be able to define what a woman is. We should empower women. We should do what we want to do. No part of me is ever going to pursue something because men have previously pursued it more. I think that that's silly. I don't have that vengeful nature. And if you go for a field that's male dominated, that doesn't make you less feminine. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. My personal stance on like gender equality and all that is we should definitely have equality of opportunities. I think that if you're on this channel, you might have similar viewpoints, but if not, that's totally okay. I respect every opinion. And I personally think that it's really important to be able to celebrate what you are and what you have. But I've seen people who it's like, they have this thing going for them and they've worked to get where they are. And I don't know if they're unhappy where they're at or something, but as soon as they see someone else, they're like, oh, I want to do that. Well, did you ever do anything to get to that place? No. I guess it's just jealousy or envy or something. I think that just more confidence and more trust in yourself and your own personal path and more appreciation of where you are personally at will serve you really well in this life because you'll be less bitter and jealous over people who are accomplishing things that you hadn't even gone for. If you do have a goal and you're going for something and you haven't achieved it yet, it's okay, right? You will get there on your own time. I believe in you. You should continue to believe in yourself. Life is not easy. Accomplishments are not easy. I would hope that you don't hold a victim mentality. I would say just like focus on your goal and work as hard as you can to achieve it. If it takes a little bit longer to get there than say other people around you or whatever, this could just be your personal test to see how badly you even want it. Who cares about instant gratification anyway? If it takes you a little bit longer than your peers to get something, it might be even that much sweeter because you know that you wanted it so badly that it was worth all that extra time and all that extra effort. So I really hope that you accomplish all of your goals. I hope that you appreciate not only where you are at now, but like where you can be. I personally like when I have a goal and I'm not there yet because you're in it, like you're on the journey. So if you do find yourself in an actual legitimate place that you are being discriminated against as a woman, then that's something to take up. Like in your job or something, that's something to definitely take up. If you know of sexist people in your life that are kind of trying to like break you down, if they're starting to get to you and you're starting to believe it, unfortunately you can't change them. So the best advice I have for you is to just work on your own mental state so that you can hear something like that and it wouldn't resonate with you and you don't absorb that negativity. Don't make room for that in your life. Don't allow that. This was just something that I wanted to talk about. This will be a little bit easier for me to communicate with the help of this professor that I found online with his video clips and all that. I have a lot of other videos on my channel. I have makeup tutorials and like luxury unboxings and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video.